you said that this is the easiest part of life as students, but we see that a lot of youngsters fall into the clutches of stress, depression, and to cope with that, they go into the addictions like alcohol, drugs, porn, internet, etc. And they think that it will give them relief.
I didn't know internet was along with the drugs.
So, how to deal with them?
Look at me, I'm always stoned. Never been on a substance, but you must understand, whatever stimulants, whatever stimulus you may take from outside, essentially human experience of all kinds is caused only from within. The question is only, are you on push start or are you on self-start? Which is better technologically? Self-start. So, if I teach you, suppose I teach you that you can simply sit here and be totally blissed out, more stoned than anybody on the campus. At the same time, you're fully aware. Would you go for it? Would you go for it? Fully stoned, fully conscious, would you go for it? See, the only problem with your alcohol, drugs, everything is not a moral issue. It is a life issue because it destroys life. It's not a morality that this is good, this is bad, that's not the point. The point is it makes you incapable in so many ways. There was a certain Israeli scientist who was researching on marijuana or cannabis. Over 18 years, the US Drug Administration gave him large quantities of marijuana and he went on experimenting, and 18 years' time he came up with really nothing significant. And during mid-80s, when American agencies were fighting drug on the street, they changed their policy of fighting the suppliers in Mexico and South America. They decided to fight on the street with the users. So they said, somebody said, this is not right, you're giving this man such a big stock, we don't know what he's doing, because he's not produced anything, 18 years of research. Then he moved to Israel. The Israeli government looked at his work and they decided to give him big stocks of marijuana. And after another 3.5, 4 years, he came up with this. He found that in the human brain, there are millions of cannabis receptors. Then he threw this question to various disciplines. Anthropologists tried to look at it and say, at some time in history, maybe every human being was smoking, that's why there are receptors. Then they said, this is rubbish, because in many parts of the world it was not there. Even an Eskimo has cannabis receptors where he has never seen anything like this. Then various things happened, then the neurologists came up with this. They said, always the human brain is waiting for the cannabis, that which causes intoxication, not waiting for it from outside. It can generate from within, that is why there are receptors. So, this is something that we have always known. I can show you, I'm there always, but you look at my eyes, I'm always stoned. But as aware as anybody can be. If you do not know intoxication in life, you will never know a sense of abandon. If you don't have a sense of abandon, you will never walk full stride in your life. You will only walk half steps all the time. Only when there is no fear of suffering, because you're highly intoxicated and fully aware. Not because you consume substances which will take away your awareness, simply because you're keeping the system, the human mechanism at its highest function. Now it is fully self-sufficient, blissed out all the time. Now you will not think of all these things. I want you to look at this, all young people, I want you to look at this. In your life, would you like to do that which works or that which does not work? Human intelligence is always looking for that which works, isn't it? That which does not work is not what we are interested in, that which works. When I'm just wondering how far to take you, you look like a nice boy. It is just this. Every experience, whatever happens to you, right now, let's look at it this way. Right now, all of you, those who are in the upper regions also, do you see me? Even if you're not listening, do you see me? If you see me, can you use one of your hands and point out where I am? You also. Oh, you got it wrong. You know I'm a mystic from southern India. So, today you know, this light is falling upon me, reflecting, going through your lenses, inverted image in the retina, you know the entire story, isn't it? So you see me within yourself, you hear me within yourself. Where have you seen the whole world? Within yourself. The way it is projected in the firmament of your mind, you are not seeing the world the way it is, you are seeing it the way it's projected within you. A grasshopper may not be seeing the world the way you see it, he's seeing it differently. Yes or no? Same world, but he sees it differently because his visual apparatus are made completely different. You know that different animals hear, some hear subsonic sounds, some hear ultrasonic sounds. We don't hear both of them, yes? We hear something else. So we are all living in the same world, but seeing and hearing things completely differently. What is day for us, what is light for us, is darkness for some other creature, what is darkness for them is light for us. Obviously, our instruments of perception are created for our survival process, and their instruments of survival are crafted for their survival process. But now your intelligence has blossomed to a place where survival is not good enough. You want to know the nature of life. Once this longing comes, then you must understand the instruments of perception need to be enhanced. These instruments, five senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching, they are not good enough because they are only instruments of survival. They are not instruments of true knowing, because they show you everything in comparison. When I say everything in comparison, right now if you're 6 feet tall, you stand like a tall man, you walk like a tall man, you think like a tall man, you are a tall man. You went to another society where everybody is 8 feet tall. Suddenly you stand like a short man, walk like a short man, think like a short man, you are a short man, isn't it? I'm saying what you know in comparison is only good for survival process, not to know the nature of life. So right now, everything that you know is only by comparison. If I touch this, I feel it's cool. No, that's not the reality. The reality is, because my body temperature is in a certain way, I make a judgment that this is cool. Suppose I lower my body temperature substantially and then I touch this would be warm to me, yes or no? Yes. So what you're perceiving is only by comparison. What you know by comparison is just a distortion of reality. It is good enough for survival, it is not good enough to know the nature of life. Now you're talking about stress and anxiety. As I said, every year we've been trekking in Himalayas. 2 years ago, I'm in a tent somewhere in Nepal and I'm doing some work. Someone else is cutting an apple. There's another person in the tent. That person tells this person, "Be careful, it's a very sharp knife." It irritates me. Because I call something a knife only if it's sharp. What about you? I call something as a knife only if it's really sharp, otherwise I will call it a screwdriver. I look at this and then I continue my work, and another 2 minutes, again it is said, "Be careful, it's a very sharp knife." I say, "Come on, leave the man alone." If it's a child, yes. But this is a full-grown man, he knows how to handle a knife, not a complicated machinery. So, "No, Sadhguru, it's a very sharp knife." Then I continue my work. Another 2 minutes, I hear a whisper, "Be careful, it's a very sharp knife." Another 2 minutes, he cuts his hand. Then I give up. Why I'm saying this to you is, knife is not a sharp instrument, a knife is not a dangerous instrument. Every day in the world, both in terms of kitchens and operation theaters, tell me, are knives saving more lives or taking more lives? Saving more lives. In an irresponsible hand, it may take somebody's life. Knife is not dangerous. It is in whose hands it is, what kind of hand is it, which makes it dangerous. Knife is not a dangerous instrument, yes or no? Only if an unsteady hand is handling. If a child holds a knife, we say, be careful, because… not because knife is dangerous, because the hand is not steady. Right now, this is the situation. Compared to every other creature on the planet, your intellect is little sharper than them. Would you like to have a sharp intellect or a dull one? Sharp. If you want a sharp intellect, you must learn to hold it right. Otherwise, every day you start poking, this is self-help, you know. When was the last time somebody stabbed you with a dagger in the… When was the last time somebody stabbed you with a dagger? Even in Delhi, it doesn't happen. Maybe somebody poked you with a pin at the most when you were in school, or maybe they ignored you, they did not even do that. So what I'm saying is, how much suffering is actually coming from outside? Minuscule, isn't it? Rest is all self-help. So once your intelligence turns against you, believe me, no force in the universe can save you. So it's very important, before you do anything else in your life, you learn to bring your body and mind to a state where your body takes instructions from you, your mind takes instructions from you. They must serve you, you should not be serving them. Otherwise, you will live a very poor life, because you can only live a life of some significance only when your mind and your body works for you, not against you, isn't it? At least this much every human being should take charge of.
Sadhguru, but I speak to my friends around here, and whenever we talk about meditation or yoga, they say like, nah, that's for the old people, that's not for us, and we're not very interested in it. And one of my friends said, I tried meditating and I slept. So, why is it that meditation and yoga is perceived as something for the old and not for the young generation, and it's like, we don't need this?
Maybe because that is the kind of people they have met. In the sense, yoga means… they saw all yogis who fell out of the calendars printed in Shivakasi, you know, in South India. Right, all right. They thought yoga means you're not interested in life. That's their general thing. I'm doing everything possible to change this perception, many things. This is not for anything, because you're young people, I'm saying. Something physical you learn, let's say you learn to ride a dirt bike, let's say you learn to do skydiving, let's say you learn to fly a helicopter, let's say you learn to ski, do something. What you may take 3 years or 5 years to learn, I will do it in 3 months at this age. Would you like to do that at an early age or when you're dying? I'm asking you.
Early age.
Then you must do yoga. I will tell you, I got into yoga for all the wrong reasons. But that is the beauty of life. Even for wrong reasons, if you do the right thing, it works. I was just 11, 12 years of age. Every summer vacation, we go to our grandfather's ancestral home, where in the backyard there is a well, which is about 8 feet in diameter, about 150 feet in depth. Water generally in summer will be at least 60, 70 feet below the ground level. So one of the sport for us young boys is to jump into this well and climb up. When you jump, you have to go properly, otherwise your brains will become a smear on the wall. And to come up, there is no step, there is no foothold, nothing, just holding the rock you have to climb. I remember just the sheer pressure, my weight, I was not very heavy, but still my weight on just 2 fingers, 3 fingers like this, my nails would bleed out of sheer pressure, not injury, just hanging onto the rock like that with claws. But I would do that and I was very proud that I'm good at it. One day, a man who is over 70 years of age, simply standing there and silently watching us, we ignored him because 70 means for us he was dead. Not now, okay? Perspectives of life will change, you know. At that time, 70 means he's gone. But without a word, this man who was over 72 years of age at that time, he just walked to the well and jumped. I thought he's finished. But he came up faster than me. I didn't like it. Then I asked, how? He said, come, do yoga. Like a puppy, I went behind him. Because I found him so superhuman that he could do things that no young man could do. So, I got into yoga for all the wrong reasons. So it doesn't matter how you get in, which door you enter from, it doesn't matter. As long as you do the right things, it works. Essentially what yoga means is this. You use a cell phone? What? Samsung, iPhone?
Yes, Samsung.
Yeah. You didn't use the 7. So, if you have a cell phone, is it true, or any gadget, the more you know about it, the better you can use it? Is it so? Yes or no? Yes. That's what your entire engineering is about, to know more about everything so that you can use it better, make it better, isn't it? Why is that not true with this? More you know about this, the better you can use it. Anyway, of all the gadgets that you find on this planet, is this the most sophisticated mechanism on the planet? Do you agree with me? If you don't agree with me, then something wrong with you. This is the most sophisticated mechanism on the planet, isn't it? Why is it that you have not paid attention as to see what are all the intricacies of what this is? What this means is, you haven't read the user's manual, but you want to blunder into the world. So, just education is becoming stress. If you want to create something in the world, you will see so many more challenges. So, education, which is the simplest process of all, if that is becoming stress, this is simply because you have not read the user's manual at all. Simply, Samsung, we don't know what will happen. You must learn how to use it. Similarly this, so if you know perfectly well how to use this, then we say you're self-realized. Self-realized does not mean you went to heaven. You know this perfectly well. You know everything, the range of things that this can do. This is all I know in my life. I know this piece of life from its origin to its ultimate. People think I know everything, that's their problem. I know only this.
So there's a lot of talk about our country, India, these days. So even in the world platforms, we see that the things are improving. But going to the past of India, if we see the history of world civilizations, we see that India particularly stands out very clearly when it comes to developing ways of this self-experiential ways of realizing this inner truth about ourselves or knowing the body and the higher truths through self-experiential ways. So what do you think was it that we were able to do properly, that we were able to discover these things? And not just that, we were not just able to discover, but also like proliferate them into the social ecosystem. What was it that led us into this?
Essentially a long spell of peaceful, civilized life, a long spell. You must understand this. The reason why we got this long spell is, in the north, we were protected by the Himalayan ranges, in the south, by the Indian Ocean. So this is Himalaya. The Indian Ocean that we call today as Indian Ocean, at that time was called as Indusagara. This is why we took the identity, he and do, Hindu. Hindu is not a religion, not a belief system, not a God-oriented thing, it is a geographical identity. Unfortunately, it's turned into many things today, that's a different thing. So, we identified with these two geographical features because we realized it's only because of these features that we had an undisturbed civilization growing without any external agencies coming and disturbing us. When there is a long spell for a human being where he doesn't have to fight for his survival on a daily basis, that is when human genius flowers. In many ways, human genius flowered. We produced the greatest mathematicians, greatest astronomers, greatest musicians, all kinds of people. And many technologies which we refuse to use simply because we foresaw if you go this way, what will happen to the world, various things. If you look back on the glorious history of this country, it is simply because, which is true even today, see, you can build a great society or a great nation or a great world not by talking about it, only by building individual human beings who are truly great. Without great human beings, where is a great society? Society is just a word, nation is just a word, world is just a word. Individual human beings are the only reality. What kind of people we are, that's the kind of India we have, isn't it? So, the focus, right from ancient times in this country, was always about individual development. We never see… this is why the Western commentators are missing the entire point. They think India never had a civilization because we never spoke about it. We refuse to speak about society, about nation. We only spoke about individual development because if you generate great individuals, we will naturally have a great society. A great society is a consequence, it is not the cause. The cause is great individuals. So our focus was always on producing great human beings, never on producing a great society or a nation. That happened as a consequence.
So, do you think that from ancient times till now, do you think that things in India have changed? So if they have, what brought us to the change we are in? And how do you see this development process of great individuals, how do you see that being manifested in the modern times?
And if I may add, how can these ideas, it's something that I'm assuming that they're not so prevalent in today's systems.
I'm sorry, not?
I'm assuming that these ideas of individual development, focus on an individual, are not so prevalent in today's system, be it
No,
education.
we've gotten into mass production.
Yes. Yes,
of everything.
yes. So how can we actually bring them back, and how should India then, if I ask a larger question, how should India's model of development be? Is it just aping the West, or can we bring back those elements of individual development?
See, for anything to happen, you need a certain ecosystem, certain economic, a certain economic depth for people to able to do it. You must understand this. The generation that we were growing up, our parents were just crazy. that you must somehow get one degree and get into a government job. Your parents are not doing that. They're thinking little more easy. They're trying to explore things. They want you to do a startup, they want you to do a business, they want you to get into sport. This was never there. They were just saying, get a job somehow, otherwise you'll be on the street. This was the level of economics of the time. Today there is a little more economic space where parents are looking at their children little differently. Still we are little compressed in the heads, but little more ease than what it was 40, 50 years ago. Ask all your professors. They were just push, get a job first thing. Today, parents are not looking like that, they're looking at what can you create, what can our children create, what can they live, how about their happiness. Nobody ever thought about our happiness. Okay? So, it needs a certain economic depth for any society to experiment, to have little more freedom to do things. Otherwise, putting them through the extruder and getting them out in some form in which they're useful, this is what the society will do. This is a natural consequence of 15, 20 generations of extreme poverty. This mental structure and this economic structure is a consequence of 15 to 20 generations of extreme poverty. Very bad poverty means India has suffered poverty like nobody else. People may show, pictures of Africa and stuff, you must know this. In Africa, there have been famines, there have been wars, unnecessary wars and tribal wars which have caused this in small scale. In India, the level of malnourishment and poverty that's happened in the last 2 centuries is most painful. No other nation on the planet has suffered as much as this country. No other country has lost as many people as we have lost in the last century just for hunger and lack of nourishment. Even today it is true, though we are much better today, even today unfortunately it is true that we have the highest number of malnourished people in the country. More than 60% of the rural population, even today, they have not grown, their skeletal system has not grown to full size. When they're in that state, you're only thinking how to make a living. You're not thinking of how to open up human genius. You're not interested in all that. You're not thinking how to become self-realized. You're only thinking how to make a living. So this has happened to us because we've been an occupied nation for too long. We've been ripped off in every other way. There's no point blaming somebody, we didn't take care of it at that time, it went out of our hands. But 250, 300 years ago, everybody wanted to come to India. Why? Because it was the richest country on the planet. We occupied a 33% space in the economic space of the planet at one time. Today probably we are 2 or 3%. So, because of this extreme poverty, we have a certain mindset. But I think in a generation or in next 15, 20 years, a whole lot of people will come out of this. Because there's little more ease, little more space to play with, little more space to push it. So as a part of this, we are creating this space in many ways. We have 3 types of education, in Isha. We have what's called as Isha Vidya, which is in rural India, which includes our own schools, which are mainly focused towards teaching English language, computer sciences, regular academic education at a certain level, bring discipline and well-being, health and well-being, nourishment, which is most important in the villages, and get them out of the village, because to get out of that economic and social pit in which they are, education is just a passport for them. That's one level of education. Another level of education, we have what's called as Isha homeschool. This is for the little more affluent people. This happens inside the yoga center itself. We have a huge tract of land and various facilities. These schools are run in a certain way. 20 children live with 2 dedicated house parents, and everything, the school itself is inside the house. That's why it's called a home school. Only for playground, laboratory and libraries, they go out. Everything is inside the house. This turns out expensive, an expensive way of delivering education, but this is done by dedicated people. As a rule, we never take any trained teachers. We have doctors, engineers, accountants, all kinds of people, but no trained teachers, because we want education to happen as an inspiration, not as putting, shoving down information down somebody's throat. As an inspiration, children should get that spark of wanting to know something. There is a whole range of activity of theatre, art, music, sport, all kinds of things. Many of our… 2, 3 of our boys are now in professional football in Germany. So, like this, they're going into various things. This school gives an enormous range of things. And I made this now, 11th, 12th, I made it 3 years. Not 2 years, 3 years. I said 1 year extra because by the time they get to 11th, a whole lot of parents will get marks mad. We have invested so much time in music, theatre and many things. Now 11th standard comes and everything is dropped and they just start doing only trying to get marks. So I said 3 years, if you want you stay, otherwise no. The surprising thing is nobody wants to withdraw their children. This wouldn't have happened 25 years ago. Everybody would have withdrawn their children. Now nobody wants to be… not even one child wants to be withdrawn. Everybody wants to go through 3 years for 2 years. Just as an experiment, I announced this. Everybody is taking to it. The idea is, see, Indians, wherever I go, what I see is they are in the best jobs, they're earning well, they're highly qualified, but they can't sing, they can't dance, they can't paint, they can't do any damn thing except going to work. Really, this is an unfortunate thing, there's no life. So, so I thought we must invest enough in the children. Before they get into professional colleges, we have to invest enough in their art, music, sport, variety of interest. They must explore many things. There's another school which we call as Isha Samskriti. Here, if any child enters, compulsorily they must stay with us as a commitment for 12 years. Only with that commitment we take the children. Here there's no academics, they learn only yoga. Kalaripayattu, which is the mother of all martial arts. Have you seen Kalaripayattu, Kerala? Yes. Kalaripayattu, classical dance, classical music, Sanskrit language and English language. This is all they learn. You must see these children, you won't believe. They are a different set of human beings altogether. Here the focus is just this, developing human body and human brain to its fullest without a purpose. I am doing this because this is how I grew up. I grew up without a purpose. My father was beat his head and said, what will this boy do? He's not getting qualified for anything. So I would say if I'm not qualified for anything, I can do just about everything. So, these children are growing up in such a way, most amazing, you won't believe it unless you see it. I'm just to tell you an experience. From age of 6 to 18, they are with us. After that, if they wish, they can stay, otherwise they can go out and do what they want to do. There are many things that they can do which we are supporting them to do. From 15 to 18, they become monks for 3 years. Extreme discipline and focus, very serious practices. So before I initiate, this compulsorily they have to come out at 18. They cannot choose to be monks. They have to come out at 18 because this… we have made them go into it as children. When they become adults, they must come out of it. They cannot choose to continue. So, first batch I wanted to initiate, now another is coming now in July, the third one. The first batch when I went to initiate about 3 years ago, 60 days, 15-year-old children, they have been on 60 days of silence. Morning 3:30 to 8:30 in the evening, they are in some kind of yogic sadhana. Minimum of 8 hours, they're keeping their eyes closed and sitting, okay? Just another 4 days are left for the initiation. I want to see how these boys and girls are doing. 14 of them in the first batch. I went there to see, morning 3:30. I went and sat in the room. These 8 boys and 6 girls were sitting there. I'll never forget this in my life. They were just sitting there like that. Believe me, they were literally glowing. I sat there and wept because I've never seen children like this in my life. I was not like this when I was 15, for sure. They are beyond anything that you can think of, simply because they are focused in developing the human mechanism to its fullest, not about how to earn my living. This is not the question. When an earthworm with 1/1,000,000th of your brain can earn a living. With such a big brain, earning a living, is it such a big problem? It is it's the grossest way to approach life is, how will I earn my living? Everybody can earn their living. The only problem comes in your life when you want to live like somebody else. That's a problem. But earning a living is not a problem. If you just make what is considered survival minimal, don't go on exaggerating it, then you will see you have a whole lot of time and opportunity to create what you want in your life. But people keep on raising the bar of survival so much that they will not get to do anything in their life except surviving. In the end, they don't know why they survived.